All right. Welcome in. A Dash of DFS, a Toilets to Titles production. This is episode number 7. This is week number 6. I am your host, John Sheps. You can find me on the Twitter at Coach Sheps. With me, as always, my two guys right here. I'm going to pass it off to my guy to the right, Mike D himself at Dirty Jobs 21. Mike, what's cooking?
Not much, man. Just another pleasant evening in Tampa. The weather is still good here. I hear it's getting colder elsewhere, and I'm laughing about that. But going good, man. I'm excited for some football tonight, especially a little Tampa football, a little Tampa Philly.
All right, man. All right. So it's a kind of a combination of me and Joe. We're up here from the north, right? We're in the northeast, and you're down there in the southeast. So Philly, Tampa, it's kind of like a combination of both worlds. It's not getting super cold up here, but the leaves are changing. It's about like we're in a little bit of a warm spell right now. So this week's been like 70s, but the leaves are changing. It's beautiful football weather. I drove my son to soccer practice this evening, and he's practicing out in a football field, and it's just very scenic with the leaves changing colors, bordering the field. It's a good time of year. But after Christmas, like everything from Christmas until spring sucks. That's when it sucks to be up here, man. That's when it's nice to go down to Florida. But all right, another co-host here, Joe Rachi. All right, he's at Drop the Leash JC, and he's of the 2 Tickets to Fantasy podcast at 2 Ticks to Fantasy. Joe, what's cooking?
Hey, I'm ready to go. It's like you said, it's that football weather up here. You can almost start to smell it that second, third Sunday, the little bit of a breeze. And, hey, the Thursday night games have been pretty kind to us, more than normal. And Tampa, Philly tonight, very fantasy relevant. So that's
man. How about Tampa being on Thursday night twice in the first 6 weeks? Very interesting. They're like, you know what? Thursday night football sucked. Let's get the Super Bowl champs on there twice in the first 6 weeks. Like you said, there's been good matchups. Usually I'm starting to realize, the games did suck on Thursday night, very bad. But I'm also starting to realize part of that also was me. I'm not completely ready for football on Thursday. Like I love it, but it's like in the middle of the week. I like it. I can't get enough football, but there's something about a Sunday or, even sometimes when they have those Saturday games, Thursday night games, sometimes like I get to the half and I'm like, all right, I'm going to bed, even if it's a good game. I didn't do that when Dallas played on Thursday night, but every other game I'm like, all right, I'll pass this off. I'll go to bed. And there's also a TV show. My wife just came back she was in North Carolina. Mike, what's that TV show that you were talking about today in the chat? I can't think of the name
Squid
on the top
Games?
of my head. Squid Game. So we're 2 episodes into that.
Oh,
So tonight it's like
buckle up, Buttercup.
Thursday night football or Squid Games. I mean, that's almost sacrilege, right? Like
It's not. I
people
completely
listening
understand
to the
your
show are probably
quandary.
like, this is a fantasy football podcast. This is a betting podcast. This guy's saying he doesn't want to watch Thursday night football. I'm turning it off. No, I'm saying I'm struggling. I'm struggling with it. All right, I'll probably have it up. That's why I got YouTube TV on my phone. I'll have it up. I'll watch the Squid Games. I got to kill 2 birds with one stone. Go
I
ahead,
won't
Mike.
tell you what I did Sunday as between watching Squid Games and watching football. Let's just say I watched football.
Yeah, all right. For the brand. And again, this is a Dash of DFS. We come to you live every Thursday around 7:40 up until kickoff at 8:20. We talk about all things DFS. All right, we're giving you lineups, plays, big plays of the week. We got dogs. What's better than that? Football, dogs, DFS, gambling, all that good stuff. So we hope you enjoy the show. We hope you subscribe. We're on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell. Not only will you be alerted when we go live, when all of our Toilets to Titles shows go live, you'll be alerted. And we have shows all week up until Sunday. And then Mike D on Sunday, him, Alex, and Justin, they do the blitz. And I think that's like 10:30 till about 11:30, 12, depending on how many people they get in there. And you just ask all your fantasy lineup questions, start sits, and they're answering them on the spot. Right, Mike?
It's starting to get pretty picking up. Yeah, I'm liking it. I'm liking where that show's going now. It's been getting fun. Starting to get fun in there. So, yep, we're going from about 10:30 to about 12:30 if we have the questions for it. But, yeah, you're right. About 11:30, 11:45, we're typically out of there setting our lineups.
Yeah, man. So get in there. Like I said, hit the bell. Check out toiletstotitles.com. Our DFS lineups that we're going to discuss at the end of the show, they're going to be on there tomorrow. We got start sits on there. All sorts of fantasy content, toiletstotitles.com. We're taking care of you. We're taking care of everything, fantasy football, gambling. Last night we had Dollars to Deuces. Nate and Rich, that's our gambling show, so you want to check that out if you're getting ready to bet some money, because we were talking about before the show, right? We're talking about, are we betting the over tonight is 52? Are we taking Tampa with 7? We're a little uncertain. We're all that seems to be the vibe because it's a short week. Tampa's expected to win. The Eagles played decent last week. The Eagles can score. The Tampa secondary's poor. And you'll see how I'm feeling about this Eagles offense when you hear my lineups later in the episode, all right? Everybody, Joe, right now, before we move on to some more, little things we got to throw out there, Joe, why don't you let us know who are the Thursday Night Football players that need to be in your lineup? Before we get going, anybody who's getting ready to set lineups right now, who are those players that they should throw in right now?
Yeah, this is one of those weeks where it's a deluge of guys you could play. But Chris Godwin, I think it's his time this week. Evans has kind of gotten the monster games the last couple weeks, so I like Godwin tonight. Fournette just keeps on ticking for those guys, and he's the perfect complement to the rest of that offense. I love that. For Philly, if you feel like you have to get a Philly guy in tonight, the Goddard injury is just great for Zach Ertz because now you're looking at some really cheap value, and they're going to have to throw the ball, especially in the second half. So I would go Ertz for Philly.
Yeah, man, I got a lot of Gio Bernard. I'm starting him like 3 leagues tonight, and it's kind of because I have to. I'm a little banged up, McCaffrey, Carson, but I kind of feel like it could be wrong because I've had hunches like this before, and I've went all in and been wrong. But you know what? If it hits, I'm going to feel great going into this weekend because that's bonus. I'm playing with house money if Gio Bernard hits tonight. So maybe you want to be like me. You want to take a little bit of a gamble. Throw Gio Bernard in that lineup. Let's see how we do. And hopefully tomorrow we'll be chatting on the Twitter about how well we did because he killed it. All right. So everybody check out our Patreon, patreon.com/toilets to titles. Tier 1 is $3 a month. Get you into our group chat on Discord, 24/7 access to all of the members at Toilets to Titles. We will help you set those lineups, talk about those trades, all that good stuff. Tier 2 is $5 a month. Get you early access to our weekly waiver wire episodes that comes out Monday night for you guys. It goes to the rest of the public Tuesday by the end of the day, but it comes out Monday night for you guys. Get you entry into Frankenstein next year, also get you into the chat. Tier 3 is $10 a month. It gets you all of that. That entry of Frankenstein is free in Tier 3 where it's $25 value. It also gets you one-on-one roster analysis from anybody at the Toilets to Titles team. You say, hey, I want this guy to analyze my team, and boom, it's done. One-on-one. All right, Mike. It's time. We're on our way to Mordor right now, man. Who are these players who are the QBs you're fading? Tell me.
Well, I'll tell you, and this time I'm going to do it the right way, buddy. You are not making my lineup this week, okay, Kirk Cousins? Kirk Cousins has been cold as ice the past few weeks. I don't know what's been going on over there, but I really don't expect him to really turn things around in Carolina. That's a really tough matchup. I don't think he's going to do you any more than the 2 or 3 points that he's been getting, 6 or 7, whatever it has. The next one up is Kyler Murray. Now, he shows what happens when you throw a decent defense at him. He really has a tough time. He struggles. And he's got a pretty decent defense coming up this weekend with who are they playing again? Oh, yeah, Cleveland. Yeah, they're playing Cleveland this week. And Cleveland, to me, has an underrated defense. I mean, I think that they're one of the tougher teams out there.
Yes.
So I think this is going to be a low-scoring affair. I think it's going to be a lot on the ground. I like Connor. I love Chubb. I love Kareem Hunt. I love them all on the ground, but I do not like Kyler Murray this week.
Hey, man, I think Cleveland, I know this is getting a little bit away from our topic, which is DFS, but we're going to talk football. Cleveland is built for the playoffs. The team that Tennessee was kind of becoming, which they're kind of stepping away from that, Cleveland has picked up where Tennessee left off. Cleveland is going to be that team this year in the playoffs that people are afraid to play because they play cold weather football, great defense, and good running game. All right, so they're like picking up, Tennessee's like, hey, we're not going to be that team this year. We're kind of taking a step back. Cleveland's like, all right, we'll do it. We'll play tough. Yep. We'll be the tough team in the playoffs that nobody wants to face. That's going to be Cleveland this year, man. All right,
I agree with that. I just wonder if they're going to be, Beckham. I don't even understand with Beckham. Landry's not back on the field yet. I agree with all that. The defense, Chubb and Hunt, have even better chemistry this year as far as how they've been using both of them. I just wonder when they need to put up 30-35, Can they air it out? Do they have enough weapons this year to do that?
Are they going to have to, though, with that defense?
KC Buffalo.
You know what I mean? But so if you're letting up that many points, your bread and butter, your defense isn't doing its job. You deserve to lose.
That's true.
Like that. You know what I mean? Like you deserve to lose. Your defense is what got you here. If that team spanks your defense, you're like, all right, what can we do? But I think by running the ball, that's also going to help them keep that ball out of Josh Allen's hands. But those teams can score quick. Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs can get to the end zone like that. So I hear what you're saying, but it's playoff football, man. We're like, 11 weeks away? That's incredible.
Right.
Yeah, man. All right, now, my non-quarterback fades of the week. So I don't have a cool drop like Mike does. Mike has the you shall not pass, and that's cool for quarterbacks that you can't be playing. But me, non-quarterback fades of the week, I'm starting with A.J. Brown at 6,100 on DraftKings. A.J. Brown had 3 receptions for 38 yards this past week and has been one of the most disappointing team players to roster this season. Like every time you started him, you've been disappointed, all right? Buffalo is only allowing 9.3 yards per reception, which is the league's best. So A.J. Brown, I'm sorry. I'm not playing you this week. Also, Cortland Sutton versus the Las Vegas Raiders at 6,200. Even though Sutton is coming off his best performance, I'm fading him. The Raiders have the 4th strongest pass defense to this point, and they are below average against the run. So I'm seeing Denver. The game script, I think, is going to favor the run. Less targets for Sutton. I'm fading him. I'm thinking he's going to see limited production this week, so I'm keeping him out of my lineups. Now, guys, we are paying up for it. Joe, why don't you get us started?
Well, I'll tell you what, there's some good choices this week. I'm going to start on the Austin Eckler train. You know, once he gets going, I just cannot. It's like a guy who can't stay away from blondes. You give me a running back that's get red zone carries and targets all day long, and I'm all for Eckler. He's back, 8,400 on FanDuel. I'll stick with running back real quick. Jonathan Taylor. I mean, he's just slowly gotten better each week. Had a big catch for a touchdown against Baltimore last week. He's more involved in the passing game than he was last year. They're home against Houston this week. To me, that's just a juice matchup. That's a no-brainer. And then I'm going to ride, I think some of you guys are going to talk to James Robinson, Jacksonville. He's finally took him a few weeks. We needed some patience with him. People who had him in leagues, they were getting really fidgety around week 3. But Robinson's coming along in that Miami matchup. Jacksonville's starting to score. So all running backs for me this week.
I like it, man. The running backs are starting to hit, and they're starting to be consistent. Jonathan Taylor went off. We were doing a giveaway last week that if he had 25 points PPR on Monday Night Football, we were giving away a free jersey. So we gave away a free Jonathan Taylor jersey. So we'll have to figure out if we want to do one next week. But right now we have not decided. But the running backs are starting to hit. Austin Eckler's been clutch, and James Robinson's looked good. Mike, who are the players you're paying up for this week, man?
So I'm kind of on the same theme, on the same team. I like Justin Herbert at Baltimore. I think he's going to be solid play this week. I think he's going to get some touchdowns. He's only 8,000 on FanDuel. Baltimore's been giving it up to the defense this year, and I think this week's not going to be any different against that high-octane offense. My next guy is Mike Williams. My notes say see above because it's all the same reasons that I like Justin Herbert is the same reason I love Mike Williams. He gets his typical volume. He shines. Now, there is one caveat here. If he is out this week, I am totally shifting gears and going right back to Austin Eckler, where I had him because I really like the Austin Eckler stack there too. But I opted for the Mike Williams. And then I'm also going to pay up for Cooper Kupp. I think he gets back to form. He sees those 10 to 15 targets and really goes off against the Giants, and he's only 8,200.
All right, so we're going to have a little bit of double dipping this week. But that's good. That just tells you right there, those are the players you should be targeted. I'm starting with James Robinson on DraftKings. He is 6,300 versus Miami. Robinson has been the one shining light in the Jaguars offense so far this season. Like Lawrence is looking better and better, but Robinson is playing great. This week, he's going to be facing a Dolphins defense that is allowing an average of 133 yards on the ground. Well, that's him. That's James Robinson busting through the Miami Dolphins line right there. You heard it. That's him. Like the Kool-Aid man, right? Just bursted through the wall. That's James Robinson. So he's going to be play this week. Yes. And then I'm going with Cooper Kupp as well at the New York Giants, 7,900. My reasoning is, he's gone below 20 PPR points over the last 2 weeks, which isn't bad. But for him, it's a low spell, which says a lot. This week he faces the Giants, and I'm sorry to say it, Joe, but they are physically and mentally beat up after last week. When you play in a division game like that, it takes a lot out of you. We see it from Baltimore and Pittsburgh when they play each other, Cincinnati, those tough physical games. And this was a tough physical game. And I think the Giants are going to be a little bit hungover. And I think Cooper Kupp's going to be able to take advantage of that. So I'm
this
paying
game
up
at
for
the
this cat.
hospital? Because the game should just be at the hospital and the Giants could field a roster.
Right.
I've just never seen anything like it. They were down their top 5 offensive players at one point last week as they just dropped like flies.
How long is Galladay out for?
Yeah, they definitely this week. They haven't really said anything past that. Sounds like a couple weeks. Typical Kenny Galladay stuff.
I'd be interested to see how many games he's played in the last 3 years. Of the games he could play, because he's always missing games, man. He's like all potential, and just can't stay on the damn field, man. It's tough to watch. But Kadarius Toney, even though he was a little ridiculous, he's starting to be a big play. And if they're losing, Kadarius Toney is going to be a garbage time king.
Yes,
like a
garbage. We talked about it last week too. Absolutely.
People are going to be playing off, and he's going to be eating underground. I think we all had him. A few of us had him in the lineups last week. I know I did, and he crushed it. It was a great play. All right. So now we're going to ride the wave, man. Players who are on a hot streak that we're playing until they cool off. All right, I'm going to do this here. Mike Williams at Baltimore, 8,100. If you didn't know that Mike Williams is that dude, it's time to recognize. He's PPR wide receiver 2 through the first 5 weeks and will face a Baltimore defense that is currently allowing 12.7 yards per reception, which is the 6th worst in the NFL. So I know Mike said he's playing Mike Williams. I know he said he's playing Justin Herbert. I know Joe said he's playing Austin Eckler. Here's the theme. The Chargers are going to eat this week. I'm paying up for Mike Williams. I'm getting that production. And if I can find a way to stack Williams and Kupp, I'm feeling really good about it. I'm feeling really good about that lineup because those are 2 dudes that are going to eat. So, all right, let's move on to bounce back players of the week. All right, these are guys that had low spell, low week, whatever, that we think are going to come back on. So, Joe, who's your bounce back player of the week?
Yeah, this one was easy for me. I'm going Stephon Diggs this week. It's almost like he's getting lost in the shuffle, not physically on the field, but from a fantasy perspective, Allen's been spreading the ball around so well. But at this point now, you've got a Monday night game. Tennessee's got no pass defense whatsoever. I think Diggs, he has not had a 20-point game yet this year. I was looking earlier, and it just feels ripe for him to have one of those 10 for 140 and a touchdown this week.
All right, so Stephon Diggs. I mean, it's at Tennessee, and Tennessee is reeling. They are, they're going down a little bit. I think they're really close to imploding.
Yes.
Julio's banged up. A.J. Brown's been banged up. The offensive line isn't playing very well. Like, things were going great, but that team is very close to imploding. And Stephon Diggs could be like the straw that breaks the camel's back if he goes off, man. All right, Mike, who's your bounce back player of the week?
My guy is the Terry McLaurin. I think he versus Kansas City has a bounce back game. He's an elite wideout. He was shut down last week, and one of the very few times we've seen him go under 10 points in his career. So KC should be able to. They're going to be going out there, man. They have got to be getting nervous. Like Kansas City has got to be like, man, we've got to start playing some better football. And I mean now. And so I think that they're going to be up on Washington fast. So I think you're going to have to see a hefty dose of Terry McLaurin to keep him up. And I always say McLaurin because he's fast. I know.
Yeah, F1, baby. I say Scary Terry. You know what I mean?
People are like, actually, it's McLaurin. I'm like, I know, dude.
Yeah.
Or McLaurin, whatever. Yeah.
Right. But actually, it's McLaurin.
Actually, it's McLaurin.
Hey, I mean, I think Washington too, though. So Kansas City, they need to turn it around. How about Washington? I expected Washington, as a Cowboys fan, I expected Washington to win the division this year based on that defense alone. I thought it was going to be close. I thought Washington was going to win 10 games. Dallas was going to win 9 or 10 games. It was going to be a close one. Washington's defense has looked absolutely below average. They have not been good at all.
Yeah, they've been bad.
Yeah. I'll give the offense a break just because they don't have their QB. But you're right. The defense isn't doing what it did. The defense kept them in almost every game last year.
Right. And it's very odd with all that talent they have on that defensive front. Now are they going to consider trading somebody? Moving on from Montez Sweat, moving on from a Jonathan Allen. Like, if it ain't working and you're investing all that money in there, you need to get pieces elsewhere. The cupboard's full there. It's full on that defensive line. I could see them move. I mean, if they're out of it, I would consider it if I'm Washington, trying to get a piece somewhere else, trying to get maybe somebody to go alongside Terry McLaurin, because they have guys there, but they don't have a stud. Imagine if they brought in a stud wide receiver to go alongside Terry McLaurin. That would just help that offense, go to another level, because Heineke hasn't looked bad. Heineke's looked okay, which is good enough if your defense is elite. Their defense hasn't been. It hasn't been as advertised, but McLaurin, I feel you, man. The Kansas City defense also hasn't been great. They have not been great at all. So Terry McLaurin, he's, L'Jarius Sneed, whoever they put out there at cornerback out there, I could see him having a big week. I could see this game being a battle of two disappointing teams, like two very disappointing teams. All right. My bounce back player of the week is Cole Beasley at Tennessee, 4,300. All right. On DraftKings. He's cheap. Beasley only had 1 reception for 5 yards last week on 2 targets. That's very bad.
Yeah. How crazy is that? So Beasley and Diggs only had 7 targets combined last week.
Yeah.
How bizarro is that for that offense?
Very, very well. So he's taking a bit of a back seat with Knox and Sanders stepping up, and he's always going to be behind Stephon Diggs. But I think this is the week he gets back on track. The Titans have allowed the 4th fewest points to tight ends. All right. So I think Dawson Knox, he's going to get the clamps this week. Who steps in? Who steps in to move the chains? Who's going to be the guy? All right, you take away Dawson Knox. Cole Beasley's going to step up. So I can see Cole Beasley getting in there, him having, 6, 7 receptions. So we got 2 Bills. So I think that also says start up your Josh Allen. Not that you would be sitting him anyway, but start him up. They're going to be scoring a lot of points. Mike, you have anything to add to the other ones we added in there?
Well, you said put the clamps on it, and I know Nate was able to avoid the STD joke, but I'm not. I'm not. I'll just keep going. Go ahead.
All right. Sorry. All right. Hey, diamond in the rough. Low ownership plays. Joe, who are your low ownership plays for this week?
So I got 2. I feel good about both of these. The first one, Ricky Seals-Jones. Going back to that KC pass defense, it's not very good. He's 3,000 on DraftKings. Logan Thomas obviously out. Jones went 5 for 41 on 8 targets last week. They're going to have to throw that ball all day long to have any chance to stay in that game, especially in the second half. So I feel like Ricky Seals-Jones is ripe for that, trash fourth quarter touchdown that ends up giving them 5 for 50 and a TD, which 3,000 on your tight end at DraftKings. That's a win. One other one, if you need a, main position guy, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I'll be honest, I knew about him, but I didn't know that's exactly what his first name was. 5,200 on FanDuel, home against Cincinnati. He's got a sneaky 20 targets the past 2 games, 13 catches, 135 yards. Goff's starting to take a liking to him. It seems like he's getting more targets and catches each week as Hawkinson's usage is kind of going down, which I don't think a lot of people expected. But again, 5,200 on FanDuel. I think Brown can be good for 10 to 15 points there.
All right, excellent. Amon-Ra, what a bad A name. Like,
is that guy, isn't that Equanimous' brother?
Yeah.
As well?
But I think Amon-Ra is cooler than Equanimous.
Yeah.
If we all right, everyone vote.
Yeah, but Equanimous or Amon-Ra?
Amon-Ra. I wish Chris Berman was around for the
Amon-Ra.
Amon-Ra.
Yeah.
Man, Team Amon. We're all Team Amon-Ra. Equanimous, you can get out of here. I think his dad was like Mr. Universe, like bodybuilding. For real. Like, I think he was some like big time bodybuilder. So, he likes to live big. He likes to live big by giving his kids like incredible names. I feel like with the name like Amon-Ra too, like you're set up for Halloween. Like you
right.
know, who are you going as for Halloween? Oh, I'm
I'm
Amon-Ra. Like,
Amon-Ra.
I'm just an Egyptian,
right,
like, pharaoh or whatever. So he's set. Amon-Ra is all set. All right, why don't we get into our lineups for the week? All right. So Mike D, hit us with your lineup on FanDuel this week.
So at 8,000, I told you we're going with Justin Herbert. We're stacking that up with Mike Williams at another 8,000. We got Javonte Williams versus the Vegas Raiders. I think the Broncos are going to have to run the ball a lot in that game. I think they're going to want to try to keep the clock on their side. I think this is going to be a huge breakout game for Javonte Williams. I've got Latavius Murray versus the Chargers for the same reason. You can't pass against the Chargers. You have to run against them. And anytime you have to run, Baltimore is very happy to oblige with that kind of a setup. I think Latavius Murray has himself a day. I got Amari Cooper going out there. I think for the same reasons that you were talking about earlier with the Cowboys, they're just firing off all cylinders. And it's been about 5 weeks since Amari Cooper's done anything. So I feel like this is
he had 2 touchdowns last week.
Oh, well, then never mind. I better take him out. Yep, I better take him out.
We're crushing Amari Cooper. No, not this past game, the week prior.
Well, he shouldn't have admitted that he was watching The Bachelor with his wife last Sunday at 1.
You're right. Squid Games, dude. I'm telling you, Squid Games. Then we got Terry McLaurin at Kansas City for 7,400. Hunter Henry, I'm liking what I'm seeing there in the Dallas. They have a weakness. It is against the tight end. And then, of course, Cooper Kupp at the Giants. And then we're closing that out with the Bengals at Detroit for 4,500.
Yeah, the Cowboys, when they played Philly, Ertz, Goddard were just running free everywhere. But, Joe, what were you going to say, man?
I was just saying, we were talking about this the other day, the whole Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith thing in New England. Like, I think, at least me anyways, I thought Smith was going to be the guy out of those two who got more targets consistently, right. His athleticism, all these things. But Hunter Henry is really kind of taking that role over there for them.
He's becoming like what I wanted him to be when he came out of Arkansas when he was in LA. And even to start the year, I was disappointed with him. But finally, he's putting it together. But like you said, with Jonnu, with his athletic ability, he ran the ball in Tennessee last year. Like, they gave him handoffs. So I thought with Bill was going to find some special packages, get him like 12 touches a game, like a lighter version of what the Falcons are doing with Cordero Patterson. Just crazy, find a way to, get him involved. And he's been fairly quiet. So, I'm a little surprised at the way the touches have gone between Henry and Jonnu Smith. Joe, what is your lineup you are playing this week?
All right, let's do it. We're on FanDuel this week. Hard to ignore what we watched last Monday night in the second half. So I'm all Lamar Jackson, 8,200 against the Chargers. Even if he doesn't throw, it doesn't even matter at this point. He's going to get you 10 to 15 just running on his own. Running backs, we already talked about it. Jonathan Taylor and Eckler are both in my lineups. Taylor at 7,500 too. I think that's kind of just like a steal or bargain. I kind of feel like if FanDuel, if you're under 8,000 for your number one running back, you're doing pretty good there. Daryl Williams is kind of the cheap running back play of the week. His first career start there for KC. No reason to think he won't get the touches necessary to have himself 15 to 20 points. Yep. Wideouts, Devonta Adams, they're ramping it up there in Green Bay. I do think Chicago is going to play them hard. It's at Chicago, classic rivalry, but I think Adams is going to eat, as you would say, Coach. Pittman home against Houston. Last week I was poo-pooing on the Colts team and their fantasy relevance. This week I'm all about the Colts because they're playing Houston. Pittman's been great. Kind of what we wished we saw from him all year last year, I think, but this year they're consistently getting him the targets, at least without T.Y. Hilton. He's only 5,800. We talked about Ramen Noodle St. Brown, 5,200 against Cincinnati. Again, those targets make him worth, I think, that price. Mark Andrews against the Chargers. Huge week last week for Andrews in that second half, along with Lamar. So getting a little QB tight end stack, which is a little different, but I like Andrews at 6,300. And then once again, going back to that Colts defense, 4,700 home against Houston. I think that's a field bet.
Man, I like it. I like these lineups. I might have to throw these in, to my plays. My play of the week
a bad idea.
For DraftKings, I got Matthew Stafford at the Giants. We talked about the Giants being a little banged up. And I think there's going to be a lot of points here scored by the Rams. The Rams have had a few tough weeks. Like after beating Tampa Bay, things haven't really gone great. They're due for a bounce back. The Giants spell, the perfect recipe for the bounce back. So watch Matthew Stafford at the New York Giants for 6,700. James Robinson, I talked about earlier, versus Miami for 6,300. And then Gio Bernard, I told you, at Philadelphia, 4,700. I got him in a bunch of my lineups. I'm sticking true to it. I just kind of have a little bit of a feeling he's going to find his way into the end zone this evening. Cooper Kupp at the New York Giants, 7,900. Again, I spoke about him earlier. We've talked about him. stacking him with my guy Stafford. Terry McLaurin. All right, we're all on this guy. First Kansas City at 7,100. Cole Beasley, my bounce back candidate of the week. At Tennessee for 4,300. And Dalton Schultz at New England for 4,900. Ever since I played Darren Waller like 3 or 4 weeks ago when I was complaining about how tight ends crushed me, I put Dalton Schultz in my lineup, and he's been a cheap play, and he's produced for me every single week. So you know what? I should have put him in ride the wave. Like he should have been a guy that I'm putting riding the wave now. He's every week, he's 6 or 7 receptions. He's getting into the end zone. He's getting 80, 90 yards. So Dalton Schultz at 4,900 versus New England. Laviska Shenault Jr. versus Miami at 4,900, man. All right, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? Or gets the oil, however that goes. This dude had 1 reception for 58 yards last week. I think they're going to realize we need to get this dude targets. I am expecting the Jaguars to get this dude involved in the game plan against Miami. They can beat the brakes off Miami if they can get the ball air out. All right, because the Miami offense, I don't know what's going on with Jacoby Brissett. I don't know what's going on with that defense. I think Jacksonville can come out of this game. All right, so I'm playing 2 of them. I got Robinson, I got Visca, and then finally the Cowboys defense at New England, 3,200. The Cowboys are another, their defense is getting it done. I started them last week. Anthony Brown had that pick 6. They didn't really get to the quarterback last week, but I think they can get to Mac Jones this week. All right, so he's not as mobile as Daniel Jones. So watch them get to Mac Jones, get a few sacks, hopefully get some turnovers. So that's my lineup. So before we close this thing out, let's get some closing thoughts on the week. Joe, how are we feeling about this week? Any other things you want to get out there, my friend?
The lineups came together nicely, that can be a blessing sometimes or a curse. But I was just really quickly thinking about the Cowboys as you were talking about the end of your lineup there. I feel like people slept on the Cowboys going into this year, and I hate the Cowboys with a passion. And, coming off the Dak injury and how bad their defense has been. But with Dak healthy, and I guess people needed to see it to believe it. And their defense actually has improved since last year. We're talking about that division, even that conference in general, other than Tampa, is all over the place. And as much as I hate to say it, the Cowboys are going to be relevant, I think, deep into January this year, as long as they do stay healthy.
I like what McCarthy's done as far as letting the best players play. Dude got rid of Jalen Smith, and they owed him a bunch of money. And I think the big change this year, and also bringing in Dan Quinn. But if you're producing, I'm putting you on the field. I don't care, because also Blake Jarwin, he got the big contract. Dalton Schultz is a free agent next year, but they don't care. It doesn't matter about contracts. If you're producing, you're going to get on the field. And during the Garrett era, that really wasn't the case.
Yeah.
So
they're deep.
Yeah, but there's competition. Like you could tell they're getting after it. And I think it does have to do with Dak. I think Dak's a leader, and I think these guys want to run through a wall for him. I think Dan Quinn's a leader. I think the defense is buying into his system, but I don't want to make this the Dallas Cowboys hour, but I'm feeling you, man. I think we're going to be all right. Mike, you have any thoughts before we wrap this thing up?
The Cowboys stink, and I think you guys are both wrong. No, I'm just kidding. No,
all right,
I think
Boston,
I agree with.
Get out of here.
No, I agree. I think Dallas is actually a formidable team this year. I completely agree with that. But no more closing statements. I think you're right. I think you're spot on. I think Stafford has himself a huge week this week, and I'm definitely going to be playing this lineup on FanDuel or some rendition of it.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/toilets to titles. We would really appreciate your support. Again, tier 1 is $3 a month. Get you into our group chat. It helps us out, all right? But it also gets you involved with us. It gets you directly into our community. We can help you out. We're talking about our own leagues, our own trades, our own start-sit questions. So it's just like a smaller community. It's the Toilets to Titles community. You belong there. So join us. Patreon.com/toilets to titles. Check out toiletstotitles.com. Follow us all on Twitter. The show is at Toilets to Titles. I am at Coach Sheps. Mike D here is at Dirty Jobs 21. Joe is at Drop the Leash JC, and make sure to check out 2 Tickets to Fantasy. It's at 2 Ticks 2 Fantasy. And everybody, I hope this week is very profitable. Let week 6 be a very profitable one. Let's all enjoy it. Let's all have fun. Let's all stay safe. We'll see you all next week.